today's toy spot, we are having a look at the DC Collectibles Blueline Edition Superman from New 52. Interesting release of the Man of Steel. This is basically the New 52 Superman, or then later released as the DC Comics Essentials Superman, but it's treated in a slightly different color scheme. I'll show you what I mean when we open this up. Meanwhile, package-wise, is quite rather impressive, as you can see that the front of it features original sketch artwork from artist Jim Lee. The side is only where you start seeing a little bit of color, the blue on the bottom there, and then you've got DC Comics. Then on the back, you've got penciler Jim Lee, title Blueline Superman, year 2016. You've got a choking hazard, recommended for ages 14 and up, and then down below, you've got DC Comics Blueline Edition. You can also open up the figure. There's a little seam on the side here. You can open up the package, I should say, and it is magnetized. There's a magnet on the inside here that closes shut, and you can see the inside has original sketch artwork of the Man of Steel, as well as you see here, an outline black and white treatment of the New 52 released Superman. Very, very cool. Of course, Spot loves this particular mold, so much so that I probably picked up this figure now 4 different times. So I'll show you a comparison of how this figure looks stacked up to the original New 52 Superman. To check out more from the folks over at DC Comics, make sure you head over to www.dccomics.com. Spot's going to take himself a break and get this opened up, but when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the DC Comics Blueline Edition Superman from the New 52. There's more definitely heading your way, guys. Don't go anywhere. Now that Superman's out of packaging, let's get a better look at the Blueline release of this figure. It doesn't really technically have blue on it, indicated by the packaging Blueline, but Blueline also refers to a sketcher's art where you start an image with a Blueline pencil and then you fill in the details afterwards with pencil or pen. So this is like the original conceived, essentially the conceived sketch outline of what the Man of Steel would look like before a colorist would go in and inker would go in and fill in all those sketches. What you get, though, is a pretty interesting take of an existing figure that we've already had a look at, but you can kind of see, you know, if you're going to make use of an existing figure, because a lot of toy companies want to, you know what, I say why not? I mean, this is a really interesting new take of this, one of my favorite figures. Let's have a look at his face. Now, as well, being that most action figures don't tend to have this, so it's nice that you can kind of start seeing it with the sketched version of Superman. What I'm talking about, though, is like all these little line panels and stuff like that, little scratch lines and little shading areas that tend to be left out on figures because really simply it would just not look accurate by incorporating this to a figure. It's when you start looking at figures like the Blueline release of Superman that you can kind of see and appreciate maybe how he could have looked if he was taken from the comics. Now, one thing that's rather interesting about the figure itself is the coloring, or should I say the detailing that they put on the front is simply only on the front. If you spin the figure around to the back, or even look at the back of his head, you can see it's completely white. In fact, flipping the cape completely over, except for the shading that they put on the cape, the back of the figure is completely white as well. So really, the shading is only really taken from the front, as if it was simply a two-dimensional flat sketch that somebody has drawn over. I have already alluded that I love this figure and I have picked up several versions of him. Let's look at the original version. There is Superman from the New 52, the original New 52 releases, and automatically you get this pop of color because for the last little minute or so you've been watching a black and white representation of the same figure. It's not technically, well, I guess it is closer to more the original Superman. It's slightly off from the DC Comics Essentials Superman. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So we put the colored version of Superman right there. And hopefully I can get him to stand. The next released figure was the metallic Superman, which basically makes use of the exact same mold, although now replaced with this beautiful metallic blue. Again, it's one of my personal favorites. The Superman emblem on the back is now also omitted from the Blueline edition, but there was the metallic version of Superman. If you've also just watched my recent review of the Blueline edition Superman, I pretty much have covered the basis on all of these. But then there is the DC Comics Essentials Superman, which I guess now looking at it is probably more taken from this mold. The only difference is that the leg is slightly a wider stance. Other than that, it's the exact same figure. In fact, you know what? We'll bring the camera in. Let's just start looking at little comparisons, shall we? You get a much more predominant Superman curl, which is almost completely missing. Perhaps that is one other thing that they've added here. It's completely missing on the top here. Perhaps also that maybe the face is slightly different now that I'm looking at it. He has what seems to be a more squared off jaw on the Blueline edition rather than the more rounded version on the New 52 release. That does actually pose a rather interesting question. Like maybe this is a brand new head sculpt. Because I'm looking at this one, there is no evidence at all that it shows a Superman curl, whereas clearly here you can see a Superman curl added to the face. So really, if that's the case, then it's the body that is the exact same. The head has been a brand new sculpt. That's rather interesting. But the rest of the figure is exactly the same. Maybe for giggles, what we will do is put all three Superman figures there. I'm hoping this is the last time I'm going to pick up this figure, because it seems like every time they release a new one of these, I'm jumping right at it to get it. And I guess the only one I have not picked up is the 7-pack, which actually had a completely different head sculpt altogether. Maybe I might pick that one up. I don't know, because I really do have all the other New 52 figures. I really don't need all of them again, just simply to get that Superman, unless I pick them up maybe on eBay. But we'll kind of keep them in the background while we're looking at the rest of Superman here. His posability, his head is on a ball joint. Shoulders are hinged, so they rotate out or hinge out, a full rotation all the way around. He has a swivel on the bicep, a bend at the elbow. He has no swivel or rotation in the wrist, nor does he have anything in the waist. And then he has very, very simple swivel back and forth on the leg and a bend on the knee. That's basically it, though. I must say, though, I rather like the look of this figure. I like it even more now that I know that it's a different head sculpt. I wonder if we might get this head sculpt in a full color treatment. If that was the case, I'd be definitely very excited for that. In the meantime, today's Toy Spot, we were having a look at the Blueline edition from DC Comics. This is the Blueline edition of Superman. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have much more Toy Spots, much more videos, other things coming your way soon. Thanks for watching, as you always do. I'll see you next time.